Welcome back, aliens. My name is Navin Reddy, and let's continue with the series on Python. Now, till this point, we have seen some basics on Python and we have talked about array as well. But we want to do one more example here. So the previous assignment was about taking the values from the user, and that's where the problem starts, right? How can you create an array where the values will be coming from the user? Because when you say your values will be coming from the user, you don't know the size of the array. So if you don't know the size of the array, how can you create the array? Right, so in this example, we'll do that. So we'll create an array, a blank array, and then we will ask a user to enter the values. And at the end, we'll ask a user, hey, you want to search the element? And if a user says, okay, I want to search for the element, and then let's say, if a user says, hey, I want to search for number 5 and tell me the index value of it. We'll be doing that example here. What I'm going to do here is very simple. We want to create an array and we want to take the values from the user. So step 1, we need to create an array, right? So I would say ARR is equal to. Now this ARR, I want it to be a blank array. And the way you do that is by saying array, and then of course, right, when you work with array, you need to mention the type of the values, right? So you will say I, and you will give a comma here, and then you have to mention the array values. But then we want empty array, right? So we'll give a square bracket. So this is how you create an empty array. Now we have one small issue. We are using array, but we forgot to import the array module. So we'll say import, not import, we'll say from array import. I want to import everything, so I would say star, right? So I want all the classes, all the functions, all the variables, we'll say star. Now once you got the array, I want to add the elements. So when you say you want to add the elements, you will be asking users to enter value repeatedly, right? So when you say, we'll say, hey user, enter next value, enter next value, enter next value. But how many times do we have to say that? So before asking for the values, we will ask for the length of the array. So we'll say, hey user, how many values you need? So user says, hey, I want to insert 5 values. Let's do that. So we'll say n, and in this I want to ask for the length of the array. Okay, so user will enter the value. We have to use input function, but input will give you string, so we will convert that into integer. So we'll say int, and here we'll say input, and in this bracket you have to mention the message, right? So I would say enter the length of the array, right? Now once you got the length, now the next step is I want to ask a user, hey user, enter the value you want to insert. But then I want to do that repeatedly, right? So if a user says, hey, I want to insert 5 values, I have to ask for the element 5 times. Now of course, when you say you want to do something repeatedly, you have to use a for loop, right? Of course, while loop will do here, but I will use a for loop, and I will use a variable I in. Now when you say you want to go for 5 times, the best way is to go for range, and the range would be 5. We'll give a colon and enter. Now every time this loop runs, I want to ask a user to enter the value, and I will put that value in a variable x, right? So I would say x equal to, the way you can ask a value is very simple. Again, the same thing, you need to use this function. I will just copy and paste it here. Now instead of saying enter the length of the array, we will change the message and we'll say enter the value, right? Or we can say enter the next value. This makes sense, right? So every time a user enters the value, that will go into x, and the same value x will go into array now. And the way you do that is by saying arr dot. How do we add values in the array? So for that we have a function called as append, right? So we'll use append here, and every time you want to add the element, just pass x and your job is done. So your loop iterates and you will put the element in the array. Now how will you verify this? So we'll go at the end, and here we'll print the values of array. So we can directly print it. We can say print array. So this is one way you can directly print the array, or you can use a for loop, right? Your choice. I will just run this code. I hope it will work. Okay, let me just verify. If I say shift F10, you can see it is asking for the length. I would say, okay, I want to insert 4 values. Okay, now it is asking for the next value. So I would say this is 16. The next value is, let's say, 20, and then we got 48, we got 21, and we got, let's say, 10. So these are my 4 values, right? Oh, it is going 5 times. That's bad. We said 4, right? Why it's going 5 times? Because I made a small mistake. We ignore something. My bad. Instead of saying range 5, I should have said n, right? Because we are asking for the length. My bad. Okay, let's do that again. Asking for the length. I will say 4, enter the value 16, 20, 14, 52. You can see I've entered 4 values. The moment I say enter, we got 4 values, right? So that's your array, and that's how you can take the info from the user. So every time a user enters a value, you just have to append it to the array. Okay, this works. Now what I'm going to do is I want to ask a user to enter a value, and then we will search for the index. Example, if a user says value 14, then we need to print the index number of it, which is in this case 2, right? Now there are two ways of doing this. One, manually, and second, by using some inbuilt functions. Now, what do you think? We should be going for manual first, right? So we'll do it manually first, and then we'll see which function we can use to fetch it. So how will you do it manually? Now, when you say you want to get the index number, what you have to do is, let's say if a user says value 14, so you have to check, you need to compare, is 14 is same as the first value of array? If it is same, you got the index number. If it is not same, shift. Check for the second value. Is it matching? No, then shift. Next one, which is 14 and 14 matching, yes. So you got the answer, right? So every time you run through the loop, you have to increment the value, right? And that will be your index number. So what I'm saying is, just take a for loop. In fact, first of all, we have to ask a user to enter a value, right? So we'll say a value val itself, and we'll ask a user to enter the value. So I will use the same, I would say, enter the value for search. Right, this is what we will be asking the user. The moment a user enters a value, that will go into value. Now we will run a loop. We'll say I in array. The moment you iterate this loop, you will check if I is equal to the value which you have. Now say this I is, the value of this I is coming from a range, right? So the range would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But this I here is not coming from the range. The value is coming from the array itself. I know we have the same name, so we'll say E. Okay, instead of saying I, we'll say E, because this is how we represent, right? So I, we can take it as an iterator or the counter variable, and we will, let's say, E is an element, right? So value of E will be coming from the array itself, one element. So we are comparing if this E is matching with the val. In case if it is matching, we will print the index number, right? So, how do we know the index number here? That's a confusion, right? Now to maintain the index number, we will use a counter variable. We'll say k. The initial value of k would be 0, right? So k will start with 0. And every time this loop iterates, we will increment the value of k. So we'll say k plus is equal to 1, right? So we are incrementing it. But what if it is matching? In that case, you will print the value of k. That's it. So if it is matching, we'll simply say break, because we don't want to search ahead, right? If this is matching, that's it. That's the end. So we'll say break. Now I hope it will work. Let's verify. I would say, okay, so what is happening once again is you are using a loop, and the value of E will be coming from the array itself. Now if that E is matching with the value which our user inserted, you will print the index number, right, which is k in this case, and you will say break. Let's run this code, and you can see it is asking for the length. Again, I will say 4, and I will enter the value, which is 14, 52, 98, 36, and you can see we have entered 4 values, and that's your array there. Now it is asking you for the value which you want to search for. I want to search, let's say, 52. The moment I say enter, you can see it says 1, because that's the index number for 52, right? So this is how you can work with it. Right? It's very simple. You can try it out. What I would suggest you is, after watching this video, don't practice directly by watching the video. After finishing watching the video, okay, you can pause it and try it by yourself. Don't look at the code, because when you look at the code, you feel it's just simple, but when you try it by yourself, that's where the problem starts, right? So try it out. Let me know in the comment section how it is going. So that's how you insert the value in the array. That's how you search for it. Oh, we are missing one more thing, right? How will you use functions here? My bad. If you want to use function, you don't have to do anything like this. You simply say print, and in this print, you will use an array, and you will say a method called as index, and just pass the value, which is val. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to use this loop stuff. You can simply say, hey, we have an array of 5. Let's insert the values. Some big values this time. Okay, so you can see I've inserted these values, and now it is asking you for the value which you want to search. I want to search for 587, right, which is index number 3. The moment I say enter, you can see we got 3 and 3. So we got the first 3 because of the loop. We got second 3 because of this method, because of this function. Now that's the advantage, So when you work with Python, we got so many functions to work with, and it saves your time. But knowing how to search manually, it will be helpful if you want to create your own algorithm in future. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment section. If you have any more questions, make sure that you post those questions as well. Do like the video, because that's what motivates me. And if you have not subscribed till now, do subscribe it. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.